Hello, Star.
Oh, Wallace. So, the Great Reset, they say you're gonna own nothing and you're gonna be so happy. You're gonna feel great.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be awesome, really. I mean, these these globalists, these amazing world rulers that get to tell us all how to live, they don't do anything without consulting the experts. And it's pretty obvious the science is in on happiness. We figured it out. We now know everything we need to know about what makes people happy and what makes people miserable. And it's pretty simple. It's been staring us in the face for centuries. Since we ended the feudal system, we've been miserable.
It's been staring us in the face, Wallace.
It has. We were stupid. We thought that not just the lords and barons should own things, and we were wrong, right?
We were so wrong. That private property, we thought that having a little piece of land, having your own home, not sharing every single thing, not having people swabbing your... We were so wrong to think that that's not... Yeah.
Why would you ever want the responsibility that comes with ownership, right? I mean, if you own property, you got to spend at least a few days a year taking care of it. And what do you get out of that? Appreciation of value? I mean, your net worth goes up. It doesn't make any sense. That's how misery happens.
What's so scary about you even saying that is that for some people it's actually true. That they actually do want to let go of the burdens and the responsibilities of being a human being. And Klaus Schwab is just giving them a chance to just step back and lean into the jelly and breathe in.
I think we need to change the name of the anal swab to the anal Schwab, because every time that guy talks, I feel like something's going on in my butthole. I can feel his words down there. I didn't give him permission. I know that.
Where is our informed consent, Wallace?
Exactly.
Where is our consent? We didn't give consent. I didn't say you could touch me there, Klaus Schwab.
The guy was telling me in his book back in June that new normal was never coming back.
Yeah.
And I'd like to know how he knew that, because as far as I knew,
they have it all planned out.
Well, no, I thought they didn't. I thought this was just an endless extension of 2 weeks, just to keep the hospitals from being overrun, and eventually we'd get over this curve. But it seems hyperbolic. I mean, there's two things going hyperbolic right now. One of them is Bitcoin, and the other one is the case-demic created by PCR tests that are running at sensitivities far above what the World Health Organization, who I already don't trust, has said is the maximum.
Yeah.
And the mortality rate is not excusing the measures, but as long as in the end of this we are alleviated of the burden of ownership, then I guess it's all worth it, because...
The burdens of being human.
Yeah, I mean, owning things is making us miserable. People are living in houses full of stuff that they don't want, that they never even pick up, and that's a reason to just switch to full-on slavery, right?
This is an incredible exercise in turning the truth upside down.
You either have extreme consumerism or slavery. You can't have any happy medium.
Yeah, and how do you convince people that everything that's good is bad and that you should let it go without any argument? And the amazing thing is that it's working for some people. They're excited about it.
The disturbing amount of people that are extremely happy to get communist checks in the mail. But I think it might be because they're historically ignorant and they don't understand that when the government starts giving you money for nothing, the value of things that are actually valuable go through the roof, and your ability to just go and get what you want when you want it also goes away. So you wind up standing in lines for bread that costs $500 a loaf, but you're super happy that you're getting $2,000 a month in free free handouts, right?
Oh man, what an absurd world. An absurd
even
time.
even economics has been turned on its head, where we've got, experts in the media, these economic experts talking about how inflation is great, and when the Federal Reserve puts $2 trillion a quarter into the banks, that then instantly goes into pumping up stock prices, that somehow that's not having an effect on the value of the dollar. And all these people are either completely moronic and never questioned anything they were taught in these new revised economics classes, or they're complicit in the scam because they're making bank telling people it's
Yeah.
okay. Either way,
Yeah.
they flipped everything on its head. But you can't take $1 trillion in circulation, double it, and then expect that each dollar is going to have the same spending power. It's just, we all know this. This has been the way it's been in every society, and part of the reason Rome fell was the arrogance to consider that we can change the fundamental foundation of what money is and what makes it valuable and why people trust it. And
Well, I agree with you, but then it seems like the world proves me wrong. Like I would have thought that we would be totally off a cliff a long time ago. And
we should have been.
and then but in a weird way, we're walking on air like in the cartoons. We've walked off the cliff, but somehow we're still walking like on clouds and there's no ground underneath us, but we're not yet eating each other yet. Yeah, I feel like we would have gone off a cliff a long time ago. Like if 2 and 2 is 4 and money keeps its value with supply and demand, then I feel like we would have been off a cliff a long time ago, and yet we're not. So then that makes me wonder if I'm wrong and the psychotic people are right.
Well, I guess it comes down to that: repeat a lie often enough, and it could become the truth, right?
Yeah. And then we also have the people who aren't paying attention at all, since all of this is illusion. The people who have no idea that the currency would even be in question, then the fact that they are oblivious creates reality. And it has never occurred to them that the currency could crash. Like a cartoon, and that it just has never occurred to them. So then it doesn't, because the thought has never crossed their mind. Now, once the thought crosses their mind, then it's too late. But
yeah, that's like the bell curve. By the time the early adopters are in, and the trend starts to come up and crescendo, and the downside of the bell is where most people actually are, and it's deceiving when you look at it, because you tend to try and split up that curve equally among the population, but really right about the time that the curve starts to go down is when 95% of people become aware.
yeah,
And,
totally.
And that's where we've been for over a decade. Since 2009, we should have had a massive economic crash. We never really did. We had a mini one, and a transfer of wealth that was unrivaled in the history of the world, and it went to the people that were responsible. And then they even got more money by taxpayer bailouts, that even though everybody was pissed about that, a lot of people on the right and left, nothing was ever done to reverse it. Hardly any of the money was ever paid back that was promised to be paid back. And business just went on as usual, and it's, when you let companies like JP Morgan pay $1 billion to make $5 billion in fraudulent money, then of course they're going to keep going at it, right? Like, it's a pay-to-play criminality. If you're willing to give the government their cut, then you can go ahead and commit crime if you want to. But
Totally.
Now we're coming into the next phase of that, which is these people that have been in positions of power and market making to fraudulently print money in their own accounts. They have stakeholder capitalism, which is even more of a wet dream for them, because now they can not only print fiat, they can print counterfeit money basically through fraud, but they can also define how that money gets used based on social justice credit scores,
Yeah,
and
so
that's disturbing.
if what this great reset really is and what it really means, there's one thing. They're going to say it's one thing, and we know it's almost the opposite. So they're going to say that this is an accidental opportunity to reset and build back better. But
Oh
what
God.
we know is this whole thing is a lie for their well-being and their profit and their power to use a moment that they have created to get us on our knees and get us to submit to a new power system that we never agreed to and no one would ever fucking want.
Exactly. And the funny thing is the people that are trying to impose this upon us, they are the most ridiculously extravagant, the most unconcerned with humanity based on the way they live.
Yeah.
They have the biggest impact on other people, and if they're teaching that us owning something is oppressing the people who don't, they are the biggest examples of what they're pointing to in the world and saying this needs to end. But when they tell us we'll be happier not owning anything, they're never pointing a finger back at themselves saying, oh, don't worry, we're going to do it too.
Yeah.
It's rules for thee and not for me. It's in order for me to continue to be a multi-quadrillionaire, the wannabe millionaires of the world need to accept that they're never going to have anything. And the people who are already in the tens to hundreds of millions have the opportunity to be the aristocracy and to be the stakeholders that get to decide how the poor interact and how they're compensated. And that is guided by how money is being lent out through stakeholder capitalism and through social credit scores that are based on whether or not you do business with approved businesses that have the right social justice scores. And it's extortion, and as always, it's reliant upon from the top down compliance until it gets to the bottom. And the people that are in positions to do, it's just like with imposing lockdowns or mask mandates or social distancing. It's been left primarily up to business owners to enforce these draconian measures, and it's going to be the same thing with the Great Reset. It'll be those few technocratic oligarchs that are left that get to tell us how far we can stand from each other when we line up for $500 loaves of bread, right?
How insane. It is the most ultimate psychotic lie. This whole thing is the most psychotic lie. Everything about it is a lie. And then they want cascading levels of reinforcement where we control each other and we rat on each other, turn our backs on each other, report on each other. I really enjoyed that when New York City tried to do a snitch line and they got overwhelmed with dick pics.
Yes, that was amazing. People need to do that all the time.
Oh, so good.
Send
so
dick pics
good.
to all of these globalists. Fill their inboxes. Dick pic the fuck out of them, that's what I say. But
well, yeah, and the World Economic Forum is posting about 3D printing fish and growing fish in like fish cells, not fish, but growing fish in these tanks like pink goo.
yes.
And you can eat that slop. And yeah, the World Economic Forum, when you look at their posts, they want to do they had some crazy thing about like UV lighting from the sky that can sanitize the area even when you don't have access to the sun or something. It was like, who are you people? Leave us alone. Yeah, I didn't even see what it. Yeah, I didn't see what it was doing. Did you see? I just saw that it was dark.
Yeah, it's some sort of it's like sort of like a UV light that you'd see in a tanning salon. It comes out purple, sort of, or the bulb.
Yeah.
It looks purple. And when I saw it, my first thought was, well, this will be how we get our sunlight once Bill Gates is done putting a massive circular disc in the sky that keeps the sun from shining on Springfield, right? Um, but I don't know why he needs. I don't know why he needs to block the sun out because, well, it might be because his GMO Monsanto crops that are designed to do well in low light conditions will be the only thing that grows,
Oh my God.
forcing other farmers to abandon and sell their farms because they can't make any money. And I'm pretty sure they'll find a buyer. There's a lot of computer nerds out there that need those acreages for growing their crops of nerd meat.
Oh.
So that'll be good. At least we'll still have food, thanks to Mr.
Well,
Gates.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
we'll all
how
get to drink
creepy.
poo water.
Oh God. Yeah, yeah. And like you say, none of this is for them. None of this is for their houses or their dinner plate or their lives. It's all for us, the cattle. Yeah.
It's sort of like watching a James Bond movie, except for there's way too many villains all in one movie. Like normally they would space them out, but instead they just crammed them all into this one movie.
Yeah,
But there's
where's
still
the
only
heroes?
one James Bond. There's still only one James Bond, and I guess that has to be us.
Yeah, where's the
Because-
heroes, Wallace? There's I see ordinary people being brave and thinking through this, but as for the people that we've paid, my God, we're in collapse at every single level. Every level of people that was supposed to be there to protect and defend our ways of life, man, it's all gone. It's
Well, the nice
all
thing is,
gone.
it's always been in our hands. Freedom has always been in our hands, and the only way that we've ever kept it has never been because we have a piece of paper that says we have it. The only way we've ever kept it is by being willing to do whatever it takes to hold on to it. And you can imply or make up your mind about what the final action would need to be to preserve freedom, but we're not there yet, but we might get there, and we all need to be willing to go as far as it takes to hold on to freedom. And
Well, it's true that it doesn't last beyond a few generations. It never has. So
Yeah, we get
people,
complacent.
Yeah, totally complacent, and somehow we got the idea that we didn't have to actively stick up for ourselves. I guess we thought, just like everywhere else in the world, we thought we could outsource our own defense.
Yes.
We thought we could pay somebody else to be our voice, and what we're finding out is, no, they have betrayed you. They have betrayed you at every level. That's
know,
unbelievable.
If we had more resources to hire Blackwater and get them on our side,
Oh boy.
that could actually help. Maybe we could do that. I don't know. We should look into that. We'll start a
Well,
GoFundMe.
Yeah, well, how could we? They always can print whatever money they want, and we can't, right? So what a good way to win. What a good way to
That's true.
win.
But
What
wait,
a bunch
we
of
can,
crazies.
we can print our own money because now it's legal according to the SEC to just start a blockchain company and create a bunch of tokens, do a crowdsourcing sort of a ICO, and then use that money to hire Blackwell. I don't know. We should look into this. There's
Well, I heard someone say that blockchain that we may regret that it even exists because it creates a permanent record of transactions that then can never be erased.
It's
I don't
true.
know.
It's true. There's a lot to it. There's ways to hide through layering, sort of like Tor network, but in the end, if they really want to, they can eventually do everything except for hack the network, which you'd need 51% control of all the nodes running the network to rewrite the past. However, China has always been somewhat close to that with Bitcoin. I don't know what they're at right now, but they've been close to 40-something% of the Bitcoin network before, and if they were ever to get 51%, find a way to get access to just other people's nodes, they could rewrite the past. So nothing's ever really permanent, especially on a world where one big coronal mass ejection from the sun and anything that's not in a Faraday cage is gone forever. So
I know. Plus, I think they want it to happen. You know, in the all the documents for this stuff are all out there. And I've posted stuff online that from years ago about how they were analyzing how this was going to go over. They were analyzing which cultures were going to be open to the shots or rejecting them. And of course, people have good reason to be skeptical. They have good reason. If you know history, anybody who has half a brain cell should be skeptical. But I mean, I put those out there, and it doesn't go anywhere because, well, for one thing, things are so censored, and then there's a lot of people who just don't. They're just not putting it together.
Yeah, the big picture eludes a lot of people. They can look at one little aspect and figure it out, but how it relates to other things, I find that's most people's number one problem, is trying to fit pieces of the puzzle together. And I think things get a little bit too complicated, and it all needs to be simplified down, because once you realize all of these international organizations are basically just different parts of the same body, and they were all founded by the same small group of blue bloods that have been taking their sisters as wives for centuries and are suddenly now concerned with diversity while they come from the smallest gene pool ever. Those are the people.
And when they openly when they openly talk about it, it seems like they, in their minds, now I don't know what level of lie this is. Is this just a lie for us? But in their minds, it seems like they're doing this partly to redirect the rage from the public. They think that by funding, because the whole, all the riots and the fake diversity and all that, they have funded that to the tune of billions. So they seem to think that if they can do that, it will redirect the public rage there instead of onto them.
Yeah, I see it more like divide and conquer, and while they keep us focused on race, religion, and sexism.
Oh, totally, and orientation.
Horrors, the unfair atrocities that have happened in history, which, by the way, were mainly committed by these same people that are imposing the Great Reset. They create the problems, and then they blame other people for those problems, so that we keep fighting each other, and humanity just keeps falling for the same lie. But I don't know. Maybe they really have got the science of happiness down, and they just really care about us a lot. And that
they really care about you, Wallace. They really care.
They seem enlightened. I mean, if you look at Klaus Schwab, he looks like Dr. Evil and a tortoise had a baby. I mean, he almost looks like he's another species.
It is odd how their heads kind of emerge from their neck.
Yeah, those are CGI'd on. It looks like. Have you seen that? Where
did you see that clip of was it Biden? Where his neck looked like it was plastic?
Yeah, there was another one too. I forget who it was now, but there's a couple of them.
I guess part of what's going on back here is the wizard behind the curtain. And these people are projecting themselves to be something the opposite of what they are. They want to pretend that they outnumber us, pretend that their force and their authority gives them a reasonable power over 7 billion people, which it absolutely does not. They're completely self-elected, self-appointed gods. Like, it's just so ridiculous. It's
and when we
so
notice
fucking
them,
ridiculous.
They yell, "Pay no attention to that uncle fucker behind the curtain." Yes. But you know what's funny is, I don't take orders from people who use Ancestry.com to find dates.
Well, they certainly have been breeding. And, I always wondered what happened with their... Like, most families now have kids with different types of issues. And the royal families, they have a show family, right? Of certain members that they push forward. And probably a lot of people you've never heard about.
Well, yeah, it's because the ones they can put on TV are the few that make it out with massive genetic abnormalities. But I guarantee you, in, in the basements of their big castles, they've got at least 10 kids with 6 limbs, and 3 eyeballs for every one that is allowed on television, right? I mean, from what I heard, Diana had 12 kids before she finally had one that could be shown.
Had some normal ones.
Yeah.
Well,
but they
yeah.
still locked them in the attic, and yeah.
And their history, they are truly weird. They are truly
absolutely.
weird and strange from anything that we would consider normal. They are the opposite. They're the opposite. Their tastes are totally different. They're
Look at the Habsburgs, right? Charles II was so inbred that he had a massive jaw and a massive tongue. His tongue was so big he could barely talk. He was like it was like Gene Simmons having an anaphylactic shock or something, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
I
when
mean,
he
if
stuck his tongue out, cows got jealous. That's how bad it was.
yeah, I think if you took time to look back at their history, you're going to see weird after weird after weird. And then I guess it's no wonder that these people are so strange and so psychopathic that they really in some place believe that they should have power and control over us. The kicker though is the general public going along with it.
That's true. Yeah. You don't, when you start to take orders from people you know are crazy, then you're crazy. And you're actually more crazy.
Which I guess has happened over and over again in the history of the world, right? Like the psychopaths always get to the top, and then the normal people let them run empires into the ground, which is what we're witnessing.
Yeah, now we've got these weird supervillains who drink poo water and and I mean they're intellectual property thieves that manage to win in court because the court systems have been corrupt forever, and if you've got enough money you can buy
the courts. The courts are another weapon to use against good people.
So what does Bill Gates do? He's an intellectual property thief, and his dad passed him down enough money from selling baby parts from Planned Parenthood or something, and he could afford a good lawyer. He managed to get through it and keep his patents, and he's managed to amass enough wealth from that now he can buy the world. He can invest in an organization that allows him to have a say in what happens medically in all nations of the world that are signed on to take direction, and that's extremely dangerous. When we have a medical dictatorship going on, and the guy that's deciding how the institution that's guiding all of us are handling things is just some computer nerd that is really sad that nobody wanted to put his nerd meat in their mouth. And now he's trying to make it the law. It's just a guy that couldn't get any, and now he's in a position to force the whole world to put his nerd meat in their mouth.
Plus, we don't even know what or who he really is, because all these people, we never see. Anyone who's put in front of us is not really the one making the decisions. So who made the decision to send this guy out on the stage? And he has been so weird for so long. If you look back at old clips of him from, I don't know, maybe the 90s, where he was very nerdy and he was very awkward, and then something changed. So he used to have these monopoly cases with the government.
Yes.
Now, what was show, what was real, I don't know, but so he used to have the appearance of that the government was trying to break up his companies, and then somewhere along the line he became an ally. They became allies with an alliance.
Oh, absolutely. Actually,
for good.
When I see him in his one court appearance where he spent 5 hours on the stand, was anti-competitive practices, and in that moment you could see the real Bill Gates, and yeah, he's absolutely 100% co-opted by deep state the cabal, the elite,
Yeah,
whatever you want to call them.
What
I think he probably has been all along, but he...
What is even animating his body? It seems very strange. Very strange. Is he some kind... Maybe he's reincarnated... No, he can't be David Rockefeller because they were existed at the same time. But what is
year
his
did
spirit animal?
What year did Himmler die? I don't know.
I don't know, but I always come down on Nazi comparisons because the commies have
True.
killed way more people. Way
Of
more
course.
people.
Of course.
So maybe he could
But then
be...
you try and talk about them and nobody knows because it's, who's writing the movies? I don't know.
I know.
But what I do know is people like Bill Gates are the least worthy of telling anybody else how to live. And
he's just a guy.
What I know about what I know about him is he's a human being made of flesh and blood, and he's in a weak meat suit just like the rest of us. And
and they've appointed themselves in the position of gods to tell us to use technology to tell us massive lies and to hypnotize us and keep us in a dream state long enough to accomplish whatever it is they want. And we know that our ruling class is obsessed with depopulation, which is a very strange hobby.
Yeah. When the people
that is a very weird hobby.
When the people that want to depopulate the world, or at least looking at population levels and saying we need less people, are trying to tell you how to take care of your own health and talking about the greater good.
Oh yeah, talking about your health. Can you imagine you go out on a date and you ask the girl, so what are you into? And she's like, I wish I could be a virus that killed half the people on the planet. What? What?
Like
no.
The guy that owns CNN wants 100 million people, right?
Total.
That's a pretty big drop.
He doesn't even want to eliminate 100 million. He wants 100 million. I think it's like, isn't it 500 million? Or I don't know how many he wants. But point being...
may as well be 10 people at that point.
Yeah, let's say if you're going from 7 billion to 500 million, that's a huge drop. And for whatever reason, they're obsessed with this. And it's very funny how they use this fake love of nature, and they're trotting out Greta Thunberg. Oh, my God. Oh, they're trotting her out and trying to pretend this is about loving nature when nobody hates nature more than these people. Can you imagine the ducks choking on masks right now and all of this extra plastic? I see these masks rolling across parking lots.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Can you imagine in other countries where they're flying, like, across the road? Like, in other countries, they just pile the trash on the street. Or in the middle of the room, and it just flies away. Yeah.
No,
these people don't love nature.
The funny thing is, back when the climate change weapon was created by globalists to try and enslave Western nations through energy policies that strangle the poor and choke economies, the people that were the most wealthy from the oil industry were the Rockefellers. And they were the ones that owned Exxon during the time that this apparent science was discovered, where Exxon scientists finally proved that we are causing global warming and creating all these greenhouse gases that are going to lead us down to this point of no return with runaway warming, and the Rockefellers were in control of Exxon during that time. And then they have been divesting from oil, investing in renewable energy, lobbying the governments of the world to impose punitive damages and reduce subsidies to oil companies whilst transferring that money over to renewable energy companies. And then the funniest part is all of the anthropogenic global warming research out there is mainly funded by Rockefeller Brothers Fund. So it should be pretty obvious to everybody that the people that were the oil barons of the world realized that they could become even more wealthy and also gain power over sovereign nations by taking this hard-to-prove science and creating a narrative that would then be pushed by the international organizations they started, because the Rockefellers founded the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome, the UN and all of the international organizations that are a part of that, they're behind all of it. So they created the science to excuse money being shifted over to destroy their competition that was remaining in the oil industry and pump up their new investments at the same time as using that science as an excuse to say our international organizations have power over your country, how your people can live. And it's all in the name of the greater good because we all live on this planet, and if we don't do this, we're all going to die. And now they've got COVID on top of it, but it's the same people. And behind these people are the names we never hear about, part of the 13 families that have been doing this type of thing since the feudal system ended, and we were stupid enough to let them keep their wealth when we all started at zero.
Well,
So
I don't think we ever
problem.
really started at zero. I don't think we've ever been at, they have always maintained monopolies
just
and
it.
control.
That's just it. When we left the feudal system, we never really did because we may have gained opportunities, but the people that were in charge of how we got access to loans and money were able to keep the wealth that they accumulated during the era of human history where only the lords and barons could own things. So we never had a chance. I mean, even with all of that, we've still managed to do pretty well, but we could have done a lot better. And part of the reason that we're in this mess is because those people have grown very tired of just owning everything.
Well, I think they kind of crashed it too, right? I mean, they set up these systems knowing that they're going to crash. So they set up the money system in 1945, knowing it would be temporary, and then they just crash it. They drive it into the ground, and then they run it on fumes. And now they know, we all know that it can't. Now they've crashed it so much and so hard that it can't be sustained anymore. And now they see a chance to put us on a digital currency, which they can control even more. Yeah, they like to have us on our knees.
Interesting thing about Bitcoin is all the people that buy the idea that it's decentralization and it's going to take down the establishment. It's because the math behind Bitcoin says it's impossible for the government to control it, which is true. But what is also true that nobody wants to think about is they don't need to control the money if they can control how the goods and services you need are able to get to you.
Yeah.
And if you can only get deliveries from Amazon, then there's no way to buy anything without Amazon and, of course, the government as well knowing. If only a certain amount of corporations are allowed to deliver you goods and services, how are you ever going to be able to spend that Bitcoin on anything that isn't approved? If the air is totally monitored and only approved drones can fly, if traffic is totally monitored and there's no traveling from zone 1 to zone 2 unless you have the appropriate paperwork, and everybody's passing through checkpoints to prove to some official that they've got approval to take this loaf of bread and a new set of tires to you in your house because you're not allowed to go anywhere, then it doesn't matter if your money is decentralized, and it doesn't matter if the government controls it, because all it needs to do is control how you can spend it.
Yeah, the lies of the Great Reset are going to force us to a fork in the road where they know when they publish documents, they mention people who live outside of the smart cities and people who have refused to go along. Now, how much will they allow that? It's hard to say, but they always want to pretend that they're doing it for your well-being and that to keep you safe. So the lie that they have to pound you really, really hard with all the time is that this is for your own good. And so then for them to force you, to openly force you, is a little bit more complicated. But so they acknowledge, yeah, go ahead.
They want us to comply because it's so much easier than forcing.
Yes, well, people are asking for it, right? People are out there demanding, like, where's my jab? I've got to have it. I want to feel safe. And they're pushing their way ahead in line, which is like the ultimate Willy Wonka. The blueberry girl that explodes or something. She's greedy. She's greedy and she cuts her way in line, and Willy Wonka's watching that, like, okay, all right, step right up, folks, to your doom.
Yeah, I've been noticing for quite a while that there's a big problem with people marching in the streets to have their own rights taken away, and it's always made me very, very wary of those people having any control over my life, because they're the ones that are just, dumb enough that if we didn't have this artificial world insulating us from the dangers of nature, those would be the ones that natural selection would have done away with already.
Mm-hmm.
And we flipped the script, and we're letting those who would have been removed from the gene pool by their own stupidity and their own poor development mentally to now have control over how we all have to live. And
it is totally insane.
I think they've all got a brain parasite. Like, I wonder, when I look back at Egypt and how much they loved cats, and I know about toxoplasmosis and the fact that there's a connection between the crazy cat people and not cleaning the litter box enough. I start to wonder, what did these blue bloods do? Did they have weird cat poop parties? I mean, they sniffed farts, they drank poop
they
water.
were so weird. They're so
weird. Were they eating
weird.
cat poop? I think they were eating cat poop.
There are no words for how weird these people are. If you want to see weird, look up Alice Bailey and how she hallucinated books. Now, this is apparently a theme that goes way back in history, that I don't know if it was Socrates who also said he had a demon. I don't know. But
Edgar
Alice,
Casey comes to mind.
Yep, lots of people that we know have said that an apparition came to them. So Alice Bailey was this very kind of like hellfire and brimstone Christian kind. And then she started having these visits from this apparition. He dictated tons of books to her. And she is very prolific. And these books and her ideas are in the cornerstone of the UN. Now, if I was just hallucinating, and, okay, my hallucinations, I wrote them down. Okay, does that put me at the center of the UN in the Lucius Trust? It is a very weird
Lucius
situation.
Trust, haven't heard that in a while.
Huh?
The good old Lucius Trust, haven't heard that in a while.
She's there. There. Alice Bailey. Bunch of weirdos. And then in her books, she talks about like this completely alternative history of the world. Now, I assume we don't know what the truth is. We don't know. I assume that. But yeah, and they've got their own kind of leader, messiah named Sanat, and he looks like a very Icelandic Jesus.
It's amazing what these cat parasites can do. They can project holograms. They plan wars. I mean, these cat parasites are, I'd say, probably more intelligent than we are. It's how they've managed to subdue us.
Well, when you consider why they seem to have different motivations than we do, like, why do we think about how to have a good life and they think about how to depopulate us? Yeah. What's the difference there? Is it only wealth and privilege, or are they something different? Is their DNA different? What bloodlines are they from? And I mean, when you look back at the myths of creation, the legends of creation, and how there's different bloodlines. There's creators and destroyers, and whatever these things are, Bill Gates gives off a weird vibe.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's human. I'm not.
Someone said he hasn't been a people for a long time.
Yeah, even if he's got the DNA, he's lost what it means.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
There's the human animal, and then there's humanity, and the two have never been farther apart among the ruling class.
Very strange. Yeah, so they're forcing us into this fork in the road where they want to make it clear that they are the aristocracy. They have a whole different set of rules, and the rest of us are serfs, and we will barely be given rationed resources, food, and that's why they want us to eat bugs. And I mean, it's like a bad dream.
Suck on Bill Gates' nerd meat. Yep.
But then there's this whole huge question of how much will people comply, and where will the real people go? Where will they go? Will they live on the outside of those cities? How many people will go along with it? I think the same people who stream Disney, they're gonna take that ship. They're gonna go to Costco.
I think there's still a good amount of people on our side that are, we've all grown up with these entertainment avenues, and we're sort of addicted to the affluence and the comfortability, the something new to watch every night, and especially now with these measures being imposed. I mean, people are running out of things to watch. They're running out of things to be entertained with, and it's difficult because we're all sort of conflicted. If we were to completely boycott absolutely every corporation that was a part of this, we wouldn't even be able to go grocery shopping. And
yeah, I think that's part of it. We're so trapped. Even if you want to say no to certain companies, you can't, because they're all in on it.
Exactly.
They're all in on it.
So I think the other issue is how do we want to approach this, because we're coming to that fork in the road where we're going to have this point of no return if we keep going the way we're going, and that is, at the moment we have the option to take actions that avoid us being those serfs. But what are we going to need to have that be sustainable? If we don't rid the world of the idea and the ideology of overpopulation and a certain group of people having the playground all to themselves after they pile our bodies to the moon and light us on fire, do we need our own country? Do we need to take portions of North America and just join them together and create a wall and say individualists who believe in liberty and freedom can live here, and anybody that wants to live in communist utopia can live outside? And
part of the problem is they can never let us get away.
Mm-hmm.
They can't ever let us get away, because wherever we go, we would make it great.
That's
we
true.
just would.
We
would.
would. And why? Because
work together, form alliances.
Yeah, we don't want to use violence to manipulate people to agree with us.
Yeah, and so they always keep us at gunpoint. They always keep us at gunpoint as harnessed animals, harnessed to the load, to try to provide for a bunch of people who hate us.
It's amazing what we comply with right now, what we've already put up with for an entire year of 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Oh, boy.
It doesn't bode well for
No,
the future.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. So I
If
look
you
at
want to
it.
know,
Yeah.
if you want to know what it's like to be in Auschwitz, keep doing what you're doing, right? I mean, this is the path. This is how we get on train cars. This is how our bodies eventually get piled and burned, is to stay the course that we're currently on.
Well,
This
they
doesn't
did
lead
have
to
a
anything good.
they did have a big thing with resource allocation back then. That was a theme, and it's always been a theme with the technocrats. It seems like we have the blue bloods, we have the incestuous blue bloods, and they look like a bunch of rotting, decaying apple dolls. They're some of the most unattractive, most unsexy people in the world, and they're mad that other kinds are breeding. But this pattern in the history of the world, they've done it over and over again. And back in World War II, they really were big on the whole resource count. And the technocrats back then, they even wanted to wear gray suits. That was part of their shtick, was they wanted to look uniform. But the problem with technocracy, if you look up Patrick Wood on YouTube, he's a good voice for that. But the problem is it's very unsexy. It's very unsexy. So it's a bunch of maybe smart people who maybe have a control problem. They have a hunger for control, but the general public never wants them. They're like the lover that just keeps getting rejected. He's like, no, wait, I want to show up and control your life and hit you when you do the wrong thing. And people are like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Well, isn't it funny, the people that are pushing diversity are trying to turn us all into this unicolor, hairless, androgynous drone society, right? Everybody should all wear
Yeah,
the
and
same clothing, look exactly the same, have the same opinions, and get lost in this collectivism. There's no place for the individual, because individualism leads to indignant defense of liberty, and we can't have that, right?
yeah, that's what they really have to kill is the idea of individualism. So it's really weird. It's weird to see the United States where you have to kill Thoreau and Walden and all these classic American ideas. You have to kill that. You have to kill the anthem and make it seem like a thought crime. It's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, Dr. Seuss, what a guy. How could he try and draw somebody in a way that would be obvious that they're of a different ethnicity without actually being offensive?
Yeah, and don't you think canceling things like Dr. Seuss is just a way to show their power?
Absolutely.
There's no real logic to it, and so it's just a way to show normal people you might as well submit, because this machine is so fucking insane. There is
And we have
no
all the
hope
power. Yeah.
for sane
Look at us.
people.
Look at us. We can cancel anything we want for any reason. And if you doubt our power, you'll find out tomorrow that another thing that you thought was totally okay isn't. And yeah, the stuff that they're okay with, like drag queen story hour, some demonic-looking 12-horned beast reading children's stories, spread eagle without wearing underwear.
Oh, and they look really scary. They look really, really scary for the little
Yeah,
kids.
and their penis is exposed too, which is, yeah. And then, I mean, I've seen enough videos of kids at certain events where there is a strip show going on, and there's parents, mothers and fathers, clapping next to their kids as somebody's doing sexualized dancing, taking their clothes off on stage. These people are amoral. These people need to be ridiculed, and we got to stop accepting them. Part of the reason that they're taking power is because we have for far too long watched them be inappropriate and not called them out on it, and not been severe in our reaction to them. And they need a severe slapping, whether it be verbally or not, because they're engaged in some of the most abhorrent behavior, letting 9-year-olds dress as transvestites and do fuck the floor dancing in the Pride Parade, surrounded by half-naked men, loving it. And that is being promoted on our media. It's being touted as normal. And if you're normal in that respect, you're just well-adjusted to a sick society.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of sexual aspects happening with kids, and kids later on are going to look back and think, where were we to protect them from and their innocence? No matter what that child may grow up to be, there's a phase of innocence. There really is. And I get really itchy when I see grown guys project their perception of sexuality onto little girls or little boys, because I know from being one that it's a different thing. And those grown people want to believe, just like so many places in our society today, it's not reality, it's what people want to believe. And they want to believe that a 4-year-old child, or even a toddler, or even a newborn, they want to believe that that newborn has a desire for them. And that is
Beyond disgusting.
That is beyond. Yeah. That
It's
is
pretty
beyond.
obvious. We've been way too quiet over this for far too long. And it's on all of us that this has happened, but it's even more on all of us if we let it keep happening. The same people that are saying that behavior is normal are also the ones trying to impose global Orwellian communism on us for our own good. And everything they say is the opposite of the truth. We need to see that in every aspect, from 9-year-old transvestites dancing at gay bars, having dollar bills stuffed in their G-strings, to incestual blue bloods wearing Romulan ambassador robes, telling us all how we're going to live because some virus that barely kills anybody has been released from some wet market in Wuhan, just like Bill Gates said it would months before.
Yeah, and
So-
I'm scared to even mention that because then they just released the worst one. You
right.
know,
They've got a backup plan for everything, right?
You know they do. You know they do.
Yeah.
And in their documents, they're very excited about a digital pandemic, and they talk about that. Oh, how, like, they act like this is an accident. Oh, this just random. No, this didn't randomly happen. And one of the other things that they're very excited about is this digital pandemic. So what I see is they have this on the calendar of the World Bank till like 2025, which people
Yeah.
already don't know. No, not 2 weeks, 2025. And by the time we get to 2025, no one will remember the old world. And just think of the kids that are growing up right now that are going to be so weird.
Oh yeah, already.
They're going to be so weird already by that time. So it's on the calendar, and then they know that if they do the brush fire of all the physical businesses, and they just wait and wait for them to bankrupt and wait. So it looks
yeah.
like it's just an accident. Oh, whoops. But it's really not. Then they do the
Maybe.
physical businesses, and then they do the online businesses. So even if you think, oh, okay, well, the pandemic means that we can't have a physical business, so I'm going to go online. Well, let's see. Let's see how they're going to let you live. Let's see if between now and 2025, we don't have some kind of surprise pandemic online, meaning, oh, there's this terrible virus released to the internet, and that's why, whoops, something which would be a little bit like a solar flare.
Yeah,
that-
it's a blaster. It's a new blaster Worm 32, but it only takes down independent business owners. It doesn't touch
Exactly.
government computers, though. Thank God.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
We still get our basic income that way.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve somehow maintains its records about how they had all the money and you had none. They can keep that record, but yeah. Next thing you know,
this is why I like to imply what I can never say, and I'm going to imply it right now. These corrupt people, these amoral people that are trying to impose something on us for this purported greater good, they have backup plan after backup plan after backup plan. And some people say, if we just ignore them, they'll go away.
oh yeah, they're
if
not
we-
going away. They're
if we
moving
just-
forward.
Yeah, if we just act business as usual, we'll be okay. If we just vote them out through a rigged system in 4 years, we'll be okay.
Yeah,
if
and there's
we-
no such thing as elections anymore.
Right. So, I think we all know there is only one way that this is going away. And we might need to start small, like standing in the street, holding signs, which we all know really does nothing. And that might just be the beginning of getting people used to taking action. And it's a great place to start, but it can't be the end. And you're either going to fight to keep freedom and to win back what we've already lost, or you're going to lay down and die. There's no middle ground. There's no just trying to find a corner somewhere that you might get to live away from this, because there's nowhere left to go. When for years we would hear bipartisan arguments from both right and left. Oh, if you don't like it, leave, move somewhere else. Well, that's not an
There's
option
nowhere
anymore.
to go.
There's nowhere to go. There is not even an island somewhere where you could even just try to live peacefully and never really even send a message in a bottle to the rest of the world, and it'll still come for you there. So, there's no running from this. There's no asking nicely. But we need to start amassing, and we need to start connecting. And the more people that get in the street holding signs, the more the people that are on the fence and wish they could will look at those people and say, there's more people than I thought there were. And they'll join, and it'll grow. Because I guarantee that deep down, even a large percentage of the people that pretend they're okay with this are not. And
Yeah,
if they
yeah. When you
saw a
look
movement-
at the response from people, when the World Economic Forum publishes this stuff, it is almost total hate.
Oh yeah.
It is almost total hate. So that's good. That's good. That's where they can't lie. They can't fake poll that Hillary is at 98% the day before the election.
Yes,
When they
105%.
post,
Yep.
Yeah, when they post, the hate comes across. People think they're satanic, which there is so much about this that is dark and occult.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
so it's great to
As I
see them
say,
be hated.
as I say all the time, it doesn't matter if you believe in the occult and the devil, because these people do, and they're operating in that way. But I recommend everybody go to the World Economic Forum Twitter page, Facebook page, wherever you can find them, and ratio the fuck out of them, right?
It's
Just-
wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And find your friends, because your
Yeah.
friends are all the people who are paying attention, because there's a ton of
Exactly.
people who have no idea any of this is
And-
happening.
And start pretending, or stop pretending that your social media accounts are a popularity contest, and start truly supporting the comments and the posts that you see that are effective weapons against this. Stop looking at things and going, "Oh, what do my followers think of me if I post this?"
I know.
No. You need to throw all that thinking away. This is not a popularity contest. We're in a fight for our lives here.
And people are afraid. They're afraid for their jobs and all that. So maybe they need
True.
to change their perception about what they're keeping and what they're losing. Because yeah, you can keep your job for an extra 5 minutes, but you're gonna get your butt swabbed.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you've seen what's coming, the butt swab is not the end of the
No, it's
dehumanization.
just the beginning. Oh my God, the butt swab is just the beginning of that love affair with Klaus Schwab.
Someday we'll be saying to ourselves, "Remember when they just butt swabbed us? Weren't those the days?"
It was so wonderful. But
it was
also I feel like Wallace, you make the end of the world fun. And even when everything is collapsing, I feel better when I hear that you make sense and you're not crazy. And then sometimes I think I'm not crazy.
Well, I can definitely tell that you're crazy, but you're crazy is the right kind of crazy.
Well, anyway,
Because you're not
I feel
well
like-
adjusted to a sick society.
Well, yeah. Why would anyone feel normal right now with with what's unfolding in front of us? So here we are at the fork in the road. New worlds are happening, and you and I are going to end up somewhere where we're building something apart from the machine. So I guess it's just a question of where people want to live. Because I don't
Yeah,
think
we
I
can-
I can't live on the butt swab side.
No. I don't bend over for people that sleep with their sisters. But
I mean,
What
what
I-
people do with their butts in private is a totally different thing than having
Sure.
some kind of army representative bend you over because you're trying to fly to Canada.
yeah. People just need to just say, "No. Get out of my face. I know my rights," and ignore them.
They really do.
And
So
fight
it's
it
a-
every step of the
it's-
way.
A question of where people are going to go. Which side of the road are they going to go? And the one side where we are, there's going to be jokes and people and laughter and life. And on the other side, there's going to be the Disney streaming service and your chip, your travel, I don't want to call it a passport because that makes it sound free. It's your papers.
Yeah.
Your papers that you need to function and to get into the Lady Gaga show.
The world is
I don't-
becoming one big company store, and you have to be a lab rat to be able to shop there every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's it worth? I don't think I'm capable of being in that machine because that machine is death anyway.
Well, we have a really amazing opportunity to build.
My
And
dog is moaning.
Even your dog wants out of the Great Reset.
Yeah, she doesn't want to think about it. She doesn't want to worry.
Like, I don't want to eat nerd meat. What are you talking about?
Oh man, would she be mad about nerd meat?
Nobody wants nerd meat in their mouth. Poor Bill. But I think this is a great opportunity to build. We can see the one direction that they're trying to push us. We don't want to go that way. How are we going to get around it? We got to build bridges, tunnels, walls. We have to create infrastructure that allows us to not only fight against it, but also live through it. And part of that's going to be people in their local areas connecting with seed exchanges, militias, organic farmers, people that are at the farmers markets that are still doing business regardless if they're getting fines or not, connecting with those people, networking with them, and also starting to talk about contingency plans of our own. If they've got backup plan after a backup plan, then we need them too. We need to figure out how we're going to use the spring and the summer weather when all of us can be outside our houses and showing our presence. And we need to be the new virus. We need to be so contagious that even the lemmings who love the New World Order start to question. And some of them join us.
Yeah, I see two places to put the energy. One is saying no, and the other is creation and building. Yeah. So whereas the machine, everything the machine does is top heavy because they have to work so hard to keep hammering the lies that people really don't want. And then you have nature where a river flows a certain direction easily, with ease. It doesn't have to work. It's not mechanized. So, like, the truth doesn't need the same defense and the same effort as the machine has to hammer you with when they want to lie to you. So
exactly. Good is more powerful.
Yeah, the truth is more powerful, and it goes along with nature, just like women and men naturally like each other, and you have to work really hard to separate that bond. Absolutely. You have to work so hard. So people can say no. That's one place to put their energy. And the other place is allowing a river to form between them, to flow downstream, so that we create a fabric of something amongst ourselves, where we're passing resources and support and friendship and supplies and everything else that we need, like a river of life, literally.
We're going to end up with the New World Order. The question is it going to be their New World Order or ours? And I think we have the opportunity to build our world order right now, and we can be far more powerful. And their options are going to be either attack us or go into hiding. And either way, we can win, because strength in numbers is always the most powerful. They only have fear and manipulation, and the reason that they're using that is because their plans rely on our compliance, and also that some of us willfully do their bidding by believing the fear and acting the way that they tell us to act.
Yeah,
and once they lose control, they have no choice but to either attack or flee. And if they attack, then self-defense is always justified. And if they flee, then we'll have the freedom to dismantle the power structure that they tried to put over top of us that's oppressing us, and replace it with something that's actually closer to what's good for everybody.
Well,
you can never really please everybody, but
I think you have an ambitious view about what happens with the system, and I see that how we spend our lives matters and how we die matters. So either we die in fear or we die free. And I would rather die free and laughing and in love than in fear in a system where I can't live anyway.
Exactly. You can either end up with freedom and live a long and happy life, or you can die with a smile on your face fighting for those things, or you can survive and wish that you died fighting it.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. Yeah,
and that would be a long life. And then it says in the Bible about people wishing they could die and they can't. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
One of my greatest fears was when I saw, I can't remember what movie it is now, but one of the punishments that they'd come up with in the future for inmates was to cryogenically freeze them and feed them their worst nightmares for eternity, never letting them die. And that kind of seems like the end game here. So
Well, the weird thing is there's something that motivates them different than what motivates us. Because I wouldn't be motivated to do something like that, to set up a punishment like that. But the same people who invented the racks in history seem to have this bent. And maybe that's what's satanic. This drive or this force that makes them want to destroy instead of create. So it doesn't seem all that far off that, yeah, they want to hurt. They want people to hurt for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
They don't want you. I mean, even if it's only because if you feel good, you would breed.
Or because it feeds their toxoplasmosis brain parasites.
They don't want you breeding, but they do want baby blood.
Yeah. They're sick people. We need to stop. We need to stop listening to them. They're not experts on anything except for how to oppress and torture people.
They're experts on their own self-interest, as we all should be.
Yeah. But we're at a point now where I think we have the opportunity to be what we are in the best and worst of times. Human beings are creators. We are problem solvers. We figure out how to overcome, and we've done that throughout our history. There's been a lot of suffering to get us here. We're probably going to have more suffering ahead, but it's in our nature to not give up and to survive at all costs. And if we have to chew our own arm off to get out of a sticky situation, we can do it. We've done it, and we'll do it again. And people like Klaus Schwab aren't going to chew their own arm off to keep this great reset over top of us.
Yeah,
We
you know, Wallace, I
are
just
willing
had
to
a
go
thought.
farther.
What?
That we are willing to go farther.
Well, I just had a thought, and this is kind of light. I mean this in a light way, but with women and men, it is the job of a guy, a healthy hetero guy, will always want to get in the pants of a girl. It's his job. If he doesn't do his job, the world stops turning. So he always wants to try to get in the pants. And it's the girl's job to say no. It's the girl's job to be selective because she has to be careful about who she has kids with and all that. So here is Klaus Schwab trying to get in your pants. And it might not be a bad thing for guys to learn this is your chance to say no. There's an old Doris Day movie. I don't even know what movie this is, but I walked by and she was in a car with a guy, and the guy was trying to get in her pants, and she said, "I've never met a boy with so many arms." Because every way she tried to keep her clothes on, he was trying to take them off. Okay, America, they're trying to anal swab you. They're trying their hardest to get into your pants.
Did you say anal Schwab?
It's not the worst thing to learn how to keep your pants on for 15 minutes. And, it's a girl's job to figure out, okay, how to make it out of that car intact so that you go on a second date.
It's time,
so you can figure out. Yeah.
It's time to bear mace these globalist bastards. They're getting grabby. They're getting really grabby.
Yeah, they are.
They're stopping short. Come on. That one? No.
Yeah.
How much are we gonna take it dry? They're not even lubing. There's no lube. So I don't want the Schwab in my rectum. I don't want the nerd meat in my mouth.
And
I'm
it's okay
super
to
straight.
say no. Yeah, there you go.
I'm
there you
super
go.
straight.
And speaking of that, I have a gay guy actor friend, and he had to do a scene where he was kissing a girl, and his repulsion about having to touch a girl was profound. It was profound. Like, he had to try so hard to not seem just completely repelled. So, yeah, I think there's all the spectrum of that, and to pretend that they are not completely repulsed. One time in Hawaii, too, I went to the beach, and I didn't realize I was on the gay guy part of the beach. But I kind of figured it out after I saw this guy in a sparkly Speedo. But he looked at me like I was ruining the beach. He looked at me with so much contempt that I was ruining the beach. Now, yeah, so nobody should pretend that Yeah, those feelings don't go both ways.
We like what we like, and it matters.
And it's fine. Yeah.
Biological reality matters.
There's something for everyone. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't take what I like. I'm super straight. It's cool. But I definitely know that I don't like Schwab in my butt, and I don't like Bill Gates in my mouth. So I reject that violently. Every guy out there that's ever thought about eating nerd meat needs to look in the mirror and ask themselves, what's my sexual preference?
Yeah, and whatever happened to my body, my choice? That I can assert whatever kind of preference I have.
Apparently, if you're ending a unique genetic code that happens to reside within you, then it's your body, your choice. But if it's a medical intervention that's designed to save someone else's life, you don't have bodily autonomy. So.
Okay. Yeah, if the Chinese army needs to get in your pants, then you're selfish to not allow them access to your butt.
So I wonder if the evil cat parasites are trying to figure out where the best breeding ground is, because maybe they're trying to, they're in our brains, and now they're trying to get in our butts. The next frontier.
I thought you meant how our masters need to go somewhere and breed more of themselves. Who knows if that's why they're spending our money to get to space.
When I see Schwab, I just see a big brain parasite, right? I don't even see the human body. It's a very weird situation.
Anymore. It's weird. It's weird. Yeah. Yeah.
Either way, I think the moral of the story here is don't eat cat poop. Or you'll
Clean
wind
that litter
up
box.
like the globalists.
Yeah, lead cans.
You'll end up wanting to sleep with your sister. You'll interbreed for generations until your tongue is so big you can't even breathe through your mouth.
Yeah, and that's so important for everyone to know that these people are not better than us. They're not more smart than us. They're not anything except more psychopathic. That's all they are. More control crazed and psychopathic.
Yeah, they were my equals until they came at me for being alive.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and they did. They did.
Now they're below pond scum. They're below pond scum.
Yeah, explain to me how disease has exploded in our society, how chemicals raise and lower estrogen, lower testosterone. There's so many ways that the ordinary person has already been attacked. So, even if only just TV and the programming on TV and how they try to convince you that humanity is bad and evil and corrupt and violent and nothing else.
It's ironic. It's ironic because just like with renewable energy, where they're taking down forests to put up wind harnessing technology, it's full-on hypocrisy. It's irony because it's destroy nature to save nature. It's destroy humanity to save humanity. And boiled down, that's the entire argument. And it makes no sense. It holds no water. And the people that are imposing it are the ones that are the worst examples of what they claim to be against. So,
oh, totally. Yeah.
It's now or never, folks. It's now or never. Stand up, get in the street, give the middle finger to everybody that's trying to tell us how to live, and start networking, start doing push-ups, start learning close quarters combat. Turn yourself into someone who will be ready for what's coming, or you will regret it, because I don't see any other way out of this. I don't think anybody realistically can think of any solution that doesn't involve escalating from peaceful protest in the street. So,
well, yes, and one of the old shows that is pretty fun to watch, and it's not that crazy if you have kids, but Jericho. And I watched some of that recently, and one of the things they show is the towns fighting each other. That when resources get short, the towns will fight each other. And there were two neighboring towns, and one attacks the other one, which is pretty wild. But these people at the top, they don't want us to be okay. So whatever weird situation might come up, it's good to be strong.
We
Have
got no
your
other choice.
resources. Yeah.
They've told us you're never getting your normal back, but
Yeah. They want to keep
If we want it.
keep us from it.
do you want your normal back? I want my normal back. I want better than normal because normal wasn't already good enough. I wanted it to be better when normal was normal. And now they're telling me I'm not even going to get that already manipulated fraudulent system back. It already wasn't good enough. And not only am I going to take it back, I'm going to then continue fighting to correct the wrongs that existed before they flipped it on its head. And I don't think any of us can rest until these organizations no longer exist. Because as long as they exist and have power, we'll never be out from underneath any of this. And
Yeah.
we have the opportunity in a very short time to grow into a large enough movement that can totally invalidate that power. We've done it before in the past in small instances, but this time we need to do it on a global scale. Everybody that wants freedom needs to unite. We need to put our differences aside and get in the streets. There's things happening. March 20th, I don't know if it's taking off as well as it should be, but it might be being suppressed, but any
Well,
opportunity.
and any time that people meet in public, the government's going to pretend that someone attacked, and it's always them attacking themselves. So
Absolutely. We need to be
people
clear.
are so clueless about that, but they need to really wise up that when you see these fake attacks, that's what it is. It's fake.
Yeah.
So
We need to be clear that we only defend ourselves, but that we are advancing against the power that's trying to enslave us with the intention to remove its power. And the closer we get to it, the more likely it is that agent provocateurs will be planted and things will be blamed. And we need to constantly preach that we will only ever defend ourselves, but we are advancing, because part of self-defense is to see that there's an army amassing outside the gates, and to amass ourselves outside the gates as well, because the people inside the gates we're trying to protect are not capable. And you don't wait until the army has come inside the castle walls before you choose to stand. You fight them on the battlefield, and they are amassing. They are declaring war on us. We're coming for you. We're going to take your kids if you don't believe in the science, if you don't get them vaccinated with these experimental, not even approved by the FDA vaccines. They're threatening to take our kids. They're threatening to take our houses. What more can they do but say, we'll kill you if you look at us wrong? For you to know that these are barbarians with a sword at your throat, and not fighting them is guaranteed death. So they've declared war already. Recognize that and start preparing to meet them outside the castle walls. Don't wait until your door gets booted in and you're lying on the couch watching, Disney Channel to understand
ouch.
this is
Lady
war
Gaga
already.
on the new Muppet special. Oh, ouch.
Yeah. Which, by the way, should be canceled because we all know the Muppets are racist.
Well, I know that they use them for propaganda.
Oh,
They use
absolutely.
every good.
Good old Tavistock Institute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody should be
They
aware
take
of that.
everything. They take everything. That's what
Well,
they're
Star,
hoping.
I think we've sussed out some things, and I think we're on a pretty good. We have a pretty good perspective of what the future is going to look like, and I think we can survive this great reset by creating and building and connecting and ignoring and also advancing towards the power with the intention to remove it. Obviously with peace as the priority, but also with the resolve to always do what's necessary to win. And I think there's a lot of people right now that are really close to getting into the streets, and they're just looking to not be the first ones. Because
True.
the first ones are always the ones that face the most danger. But if we were all to start being the first ones, then none of us will be. We'll all be just part of the crowd. And if everybody just decided on one day to be first, then we just all would be together, and there'd be no people singled out. There'd be no danger to specific individuals, because not only is power in our numbers, but also safety. And the two go hand in hand, and that's the only place that we can ever be safe, is when we're all willing to stand for each other. So our path forward seems pretty clear.
Look at that, Wallace. All that hope and optimism that's in your heart.
Well, I care about people, and I think that the most valid evidence of a good heart is when people are choosing to be brave, not only to help others, but also because we should recognize that our own safety is attached to our neighbor feeling the same way and doing the same for us.
Agreed.
Well, it looks like this fire is getting a little bit low. I should probably put another log on that.
Yeah.